You're walking home on a crisp autumn evening, the leaves crunching beneath your feet, when suddenly you hear the distant sound of sirens. The police are closing in on a suspect, but what they're about to uncover will change everything. A serial killer has been hiding in plain sight, and the truth is more terrifying than you ever imagined. It's a chilly autumn evening in Lake County, the kind of night that makes you want to stay indoors with a warm cup of coffee. But for the residents of this small town, the peace is about to be shattered. A string of mysterious disappearances has been plaguing the community, with no leads and no suspects. You're a part of this community, living your everyday life, when suddenly you start to notice that something is off. The news reports are vague, but the fear is palpable. As you walk down the street, you can't help but wonder, what's happening to these people, and who's behind it all? The streets are empty, the only sound being the rustling of leaves and the distant hum of a car driving by. The atmosphere is tense, and you can't shake off the feeling that you're being watched. You quicken your pace, your heart beating faster with every step. And then, you see it, a police car, parked outside a small house on the outskirts of town. The lights are flashing, and the officers are talking in hushed tones. You slow down, trying not to draw attention to yourself, but your curiosity gets the better of you. What's going on? Is it related to the disappearances? You take a deep breath and continue walking, but your mind is racing with questions. As you approach your own house, you notice that the front door is slightly ajar. You're certain you closed it before you left. A shiver runs down your spine as you push the door open and call out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" But there's only silence. You step inside, your eyes scanning the darkness, and that's when you see it, a piece of paper on the kitchen table, with a message scrawled in red ink, "I'm always watching." Your heart skips a beat as you realize that you're not alone, and that the killer might be closer than you think. The police are working tirelessly to uncover the truth behind the disappearances. They're following every lead, every tip, every hint of evidence. And then, it happens, a body is found, buried in a shallow grave in the woods. The forensic team is called in, and the analysis begins. You're a part of the team, working to uncover the identity of the victim and the killer. The lab is filled with the smell of chemicals and the sound of machinery humming in the background. You're focused on the task at hand, but you can't help but feel a sense of unease. The body is badly decomposed, and the evidence is scarce. But then, you see it, a small piece of fabric caught in a tree branch. It's a clue, a tiny thread that could lead to the killer. You feel a surge of adrenaline as you realize that you might be one step closer to solving the case. The fabric is sent to the lab for analysis, and the results are shocking. The DNA matches a suspect, a man who's been living in the community for years. He's a quiet, unassuming person, with a reputation for being friendly and helpful. But as the police dig deeper, they uncover a dark secret. The suspect has a history of violence, and a penchant for manipulation. The investigation is heating up, and the suspect is getting closer to being caught. But as you delve deeper into the case, you start to realize that nothing is as it seems. The suspect has an alibi for the time of the murder, and the evidence is circumstantial at best. You're left with more questions than answers, and the case is becoming increasingly complex. The police are working around the clock to build a case against the suspect. They're interviewing witnesses, gathering evidence, and following every lead. You're a part of the investigation, working to piece together the events of the crime. The suspect's alibi is shaky at best, and the evidence is mounting against him. But as you dig deeper, you start to realize that the suspect is not what he seems. He's a master manipulator, with a talent for deception. He's been playing the police, feeding them misinformation and throwing them off his trail. You're getting closer to the truth, but the suspect is always one step ahead. The investigation is a game of cat and mouse, with the police trying to outsmart the suspect. But as the stakes get higher, the tension builds. The suspect is getting desperate, and the police are getting closer. You're on the edge of your seat, waiting to see what happens next. The suspect's house is being searched, and the police are finding evidence of his crimes. But as they dig deeper, they realize that the suspect has been planning this for years. He's been stalking his victims, watching them, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The police are horrified, but they're also determined to bring the suspect to justice. The investigation is heating up, and the suspect is running out of time. The investigation is reaching its climax, and the police are closing in on the suspect. But just as they think they have him cornered, a new piece of evidence emerges. A witness comes forward, claiming to have seen the suspect at the scene of the crime. But as the police question the witness, they realize that something is off. The witness is nervous, fidgety, and seems to be hiding something. You're a part of the team, working to uncover the truth behind the witness's story. As you dig deeper, you start to realize that the witness is not what they seem. They're hiding a dark secret, one that could change the course of the investigation. The witness is revealed to be an accomplice, someone who's been working with the suspect all along. The police are shocked, but they're also relieved. They've finally caught a break in the case, and they're one step closer to bringing the suspect to justice. But as they delve deeper into the witness's story, they realize that the case is more complex than they ever imagined. The witness has been playing both sides, working with the suspect while also feeding information to the police. The investigation is a web of deceit and betrayal, with the witness at the center. You're left wondering what's real and what's not, as the case takes a dramatic turn. The suspect is behind bars, and the community is finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. But as the dust settles, the true extent of the suspect's crimes becomes clear. The police are working to piece together the timeline of the murders, and the evidence is shocking. The suspect has been killing for years, leaving a trail of bodies in his wake. You're a part of the team, working to understand the motivations behind the suspect's actions. As you delve deeper into the case, you start to realize that the suspect is not just a monster, but a complex and twisted individual. He's a product of his environment, shaped by his experiences and influenced by his upbringing. The investigation is a journey into the darkest corners of the human psyche, and the results are disturbing. The suspect's backstory is one of trauma and abuse, with a history of violence and neglect. He's a ticking time bomb, waiting to explode. The police are left wondering how they missed the signs, how they let the suspect slip through the cracks. The community is left to pick up the pieces, to mourn the loss of their loved ones and to try to make sense of the senseless. You're left with a sense of sadness and loss, as the case comes to a close. The suspect is behind bars, but the true horror of the crimes will haunt the community for years to come. The case is closed, but the questions remain. What drove the suspect to commit such heinous crimes? How did he manage to evade capture for so long? And what can we learn from this tragedy? You're a part of the community, trying to make sense of the senseless. As you look back on the case, you start to realize that the suspect was not just a monster, but a symptom of a larger problem. The community was blind to the warning signs, and the police were slow to react. The case is a wake-up call, a reminder that we need to be vigilant and proactive in preventing these types of crimes. The investigation is a reminder that the truth is often hidden in plain sight, and that we need to be willing to confront the darkness in order to find the light. You're left with a sense of hope and determination, as the community comes together to heal and to rebuild. The case may be closed, but the true work is just beginning. The community is coming together to support the victims' families, to provide counseling and therapy to those affected by the crimes. The police are working to improve their response to these types of crimes, to be more proactive and more vigilant. And you're left wondering what you can do to help, to make a difference in your own community. The case is a reminder that we all have a role to play in preventing these types of crimes, and that we need to work together to create a safer and more just society. As we close this case, we're left with more questions than answers. What drives a person to commit such heinous crimes? How can we prevent these types of tragedies from happening again? Join the conversation in the comments below, and let's work together to create a safer and more just society. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime content, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on our latest videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.